Think small family hatchback and you think of cars like the Ford Focus, the Vauxhall Astra and the Kia Ceed. You don't think of the Mazda 3.
Well, Mazda is fed up of you not considering its Mazda 3, so it's done something a little radical.
And here it is. And it's not just taking on the Ford Focus and the Vauxhall Astra, but also the posher stuff. Things like the Volkswagen Golf, the Mercedes A-Class and the BMW 1 Series. Well, that's ambitious, isn't it? Have they pulled it off? Well, that's what I'm find out in this review. And for many more reviews like this, make sure you subscribe to the channel, switch on those notifications and leave your comments below.
Right then, let's get started with the bit that's probably grabbed your attention. The looks.
Now, one of the lovely things about the Mazda 3 is the production car sitting in front of you differs only very slightly from the concept car that was revealed at the Tokyo Motor Show in 2017. And just like that concept car, the Mazda 3 looks fantastic from the rear end. You've got this strong C-pillar, this sloping roofline. It looks like nothing else in the class. Now, on top models, you get full LED rear lights, and look, real exhaust pipes. Other manufacturers take note. I think the whole car looks bloody fantastic. Now, if you think the outside is impressive, wait until you get on the inside, because this is a seriously lovely interior. Firstly, the design. Nothing else looks like it. It looks very simple, very modern, and very, very timeless. The second good thing about this interior is the quality. Doesn't matter where you touch, here, here, up here, over there, down here, everything feels incredibly well put together, and it feels very tactile as well. This is easily better than the VW Golf and probably on par with lots of premium cars like the BMW 1 Series. It is a big step up from the old Mazda 3, that's for sure. Now, switchgear, not something I usually talk about, I know, but I just want to because very tactile. Look at these ventilation controls, very simple, nicely laid out. Then you've got the steering wheel, again, nice and tactile controls, nice thin steering wheel as well. Feels really good to hold. In fact, you get a fantastic driving position in this car as well. And then when you're sitting here, you're greeted by a head-up display. That comes as standard on every single Mazda 3. And then you've got the infotainment system, brand new for the Mazda 3, totally different from the old ones used in the Mazda MX-5 and the Mazda 6. Very simple to use, looks good as well. Now you'll note that I'm using the toggle wheel down here. It's not a touchscreen. Now that is for one good reason, says Mazda, because if you're using a touchscreen, they say it's unsafe, and I have to agree with them. It's much safer to be controlling it from down here as opposed to reaching across over to the touchscreen. Now this 8.8-inch screen is a standard across the range, is also very far away from you. Again, Mazda say that's for safety reasons because your eyes don't have to refocus to a screen down there. It's a lot safer, a lot easier for your eyes. Elsewhere, well, there's lots of storage. There's a couple of cup holders there. We've got this armrest that slides back and lifts up. Great amount of storage there as well. Door bins are a bit small, I have to say, but really that's the only gripe in this interior. Oh, there is one bit of crazy Japaneseness in here, and that's the instrument cluster here. You get 2 fuel gauges. Don't know why, but I suppose safety comes in numbers, doesn't it?
Mazda also throws in a lot of standard kit. SEL gets that infotainment screen, a head-up display, LED headlights and rear parking sensors. Sport Luxe is the pick of the range though, with its LED rear lights, 18-inch wheels and adaptive LED headlights. The range tops out with the GT Sport Tech, with extra safety kit like rear cross traffic braking, leather trim and a Bose surround system.
Now that fantastic swoopy styling does have an impact on life in the back seats because, I'm going to be honest, it's not great back here. Now, I'm just over 5'10". That seat is set up in my driving position and I've got a decent amount of knee room and headroom is about okay. But if you are over 6 foot, you are going to struggle back here. You're also going to struggle with the amount of space because it just feels a bit claustrophobic with the black trim, the black headlining, the narrow windows, and the fact these windows are tinted as well. It just feels just a bit too tight. Also, you can fit 3 people in here at a push. They are going to be rubbing shoulders, but you can do it. However, the person in the middle is going to have to be pretty small, because when you get into the middle here, yeah, there's virtually no headroom if you are of a normal size. Other gripes? Well, yes, there is an armrest. Yes, there are ISOFIX points, but the door bins are really, really small, and there's only one pocket on the back of the seat there. The driver's one doesn't have one. And down here, there are no ventilation controls whatsoever. All you get is a piece of blanked off plastic.
When it comes to the boot, it's all pretty average. There's quite a lip, however, and it's a bit smaller than the VW Golf and the Ford Focus's boots, but it's still of a reasonable shape and size. If you had walked into your Mazda dealer early in 2019, you could have picked from one 2-litre mild hybrid petrol and one 2-litre diesel. Now the diesel has been ditched, so there's a choice of that 2-litre mild hybrid petrol and a 2-litre petrol with a tiny supercharger.
Now you will notice both of those engines are 2-litre 4-cylinder petrol engines. It's pretty unusual in this day and age, isn't it? Now you expect to see a couple of diesels in a typical kind of hatchback such as this, and small capacity petrol engines boosted with a turbocharger, but not here. Because Mazda thinks that a small capacity petrol engine, like a 1.5 for example in a Golf, boosted with a turbocharger is bad for the environment, is not particularly reliable, and thirdly, doesn't deliver very good fuel economy. They say an engine with a higher capacity, such as 2 litres, that's naturally aspirated, that doesn't have a turbocharger, delivers far better fuel economy. It's pretty old-fashioned kind of thinking, but I actually like it. And the theory is actually backed up. I've been getting better fuel economy out of this than I would do in an equivalent VW Golf 1.5 turbo petrol engine. And the engine we've got here is a Sky Active G. It's your 2-litre 4-cylinder petrol engine with a mild hybrid system. And it's only got 120 brake horsepower, which for a 2-litre engine is pretty unusual, and you can feel that because this car does feel really quite lethargic. Now at the moment it's fine, the in-gear acceleration is absolutely more than respectable, but when you're pulling away from tight little junctions, this engine feels very lethargic and you have to work away at the gearbox to actually make any progress. Having said all of that, if you do go for the manual, and you must because the automatic is pretty terrible, the manual gearbox in this is an absolute delight. It is one of the nicest gearboxes in the business for this type of car at this type of price point. Honestly, it is a joy to use, and it more than makes up for the engine's lack of outright power.
For more punch, you need to go for the Skyactiv X engine. This is a very clever engine with lots of fancy terminology that makes it sound even more clever. What you really need to know is that it has 178 brake horsepower and also a tiny supercharger. It makes it far more enthusiastic. It makes it far more economical too. One of the nifty things about this engine is that it can return the type of fuel economy you'd expect of a diesel. So you can expect around 51 mpg, which is amazing for a 2-litre petrol. CO2 emissions are as low as 100 grams per kilometre on some Skyactiv X models too. For the less powerful mild hybrid petrol we've got here, you're probably looking at around 45 mpg and 120 grams per kilometre.
Now we come on to the best feature about the Mazda 3, and that's the way it goes down the road. Now, all too often these days you have to choose between a lovely, comfortable ride and squidgy handling, or sharp handling and an appalling ride. But not in the Mazda 3, because the ride on this car is lovely. Now we've got the largest wheels on this car, 18 inches, and yet it doesn't clatter into potholes, doesn't bang over bumps and crests in the road. It is really, really smooth, very compliant, and feels very polished as well. But it's not just that. this car also goes around corners incredibly well. Now yes, there is a bit of body roll, but the front end of this car is so sharp, it is so willing to turn into a corner. Forget a Ford Focus. This is absolutely lovely. So it goes around corners beautifully, it rides beautifully, there's a lovely balance between the two. I can't think of anything else that drives like this. And the steering is lovely too. It's nicely weighted, it's nicely accurate as well. It doesn't snap back into position like a Ford Focus does. There's a greater level of feel through the steering than you get in a BMW 1 Series, for example. And this thin steering wheel as well, it just means you feel better connected to what's going on. Mazda really have knocked it out of the park with this new 3, because I can't think of anything that drives so well, rides so nicely, has such a lovely interior as well. It's just a really lovely car.
The Mazda 3 is a brilliant car and easily one of the most desirable family hatchbacks you can buy. You'll never tire of driving it. It's superbly well made and is so interesting to look at. While a VW Golf is a better all-rounder, the Mazda 3 doesn't follow the crowd, and for that reason alone, you have to love it. Click the video on the left for my Ford Focus review and on the right for our hatchbacks playlist. Press the Car Buyer logo to subscribe to the channel, and as ever, thanks for watching.